Christina, maybe you can add here, when I look at the way you've set up partnerships and financing for the web series, the exclusive web series you're setting up, they really look like they're being organized the way conventional television was. And I wondered where the broadcasters come in there and how committed they are to the notion of original webisodes.
Just before I get to the partnerships, I mean, much like the Canadian government and the provincial government supported feature films in our country and then moved on to support television and make Canadians real players in the world, and that was a commitment of government to create jobs. That is absolutely true now of what's happening in the digital space, and every day I say that we're living in a great country. So I've got to say that we're creating content that could not be created right now if it wasn't for the CMFX, the Bell Fund, the IPF. Now, what we believe is we don't want to just get content out there. How are people going to see this content? So what we've said, again, our business model is to be in partnership with broadcasters on the original digital side. So we have created 2 tween series, which have been bought by Chorus, and will be launched coming up at March break and in the summer. CTV have just bought their first online series. It's called Backpackers. CW has joined that. It's about 2 guys in search for a fiancé in Europe. But everything the company is doing now is about, as they say, on the original side, is those 2 demographics. And what we're saying is, let's go to the broadcaster, create that original content for them, and use that as the big megaphone. So as an example, when Backpackers comes to the screens in June of this year, CTV is actually going to launch the first webisode on television. So the first 5 minutes will be Backpackers, and if you want to see more, go to ctv.ca. So what's exciting for us is we're going to take all those eyeballs and bring them down to the web. The thing that I think the challenge, if you take the government out of this equation, and all of us ask ourselves these questions, how do we make this content? To be candid, where's the revenue coming from? We haven't had, much like you guys, I'm afraid, the success of having brands come to us and say, hey, Shaftesbury Smoke Bomb, create us a series. We've tried, it's been difficult. Again, we're using the broadcasters now to get at the brands. You know, so I think it's interesting times. I sort of lost my train of thought as I looked at the 2 of you. You know, so we're going to use the broadcasters right now. We're going to see if we can use that megaphone. Go, oh, I know. I was talking about revenue, which is we're hoping our unique proposition in the space create content, which is scripted right now. It's all scripted content, original content. And the second screen experience is going to be a revenue generating. So for example, in Totally Amped or Unlikely Heroes kids series that are going out on Chorus, if the kids like them, there'll be a little app they can buy for 99 cents. There'll be a game extension. There'll be, you know, you can do a music thing or whatever. On CTV, you watch Backpackers for free. If you go online, you love the show, you can go on iTunes and you can actually buy the Choose Your Own Adventure. So you can decide as a viewer how you're going to tell that story. So we're hoping, again, it's early days, and I've heard the word on the previous panel, experiments. These are all experiments, but revenue is something where we really got our sights on how can we get some revenue for ourselves and our broadcast partners.
So another thing I want to talk to you all a lot about is content and how those partnerships affect the content. And Nick, your presence here is really interesting to me because, as you point out, your original health video was an accident. It went viral, and which of course points to the kind of accidental nature of a lot of online content that, unlike a traditional broadcast audience where we kind of knew where that audience was going to be, right? It seems much more incidental or serendipitous whether or not. And one thing that really interests me about the health videos is those are, obviously, they're public service messages, and it's kind of altruistic on Mike Evans' part. It's kind of altruistic desire to get public health information out there. Well, what happens then when you try and turn that into a business model? How does that work, and how does that affect the content and affect the content's ability to go viral too?
I guess in our case, we are letting the market absolutely dictate, you know, even to what the content is, because we both have other distractions, although we're focusing more and more on this because there's so much interest. But we are doing basically commissions in a way, or we're looking for partners who have a message. We don't really care what message it is, as long as for us it's a public health message that affects 85% of the population is the sort of rule that we're trying to do. So we're trying to get other people to pay for the first iteration, but we're going to them and saying, you know, it's basically, it's a sponsorship model in a way, like Red Bull, but the message is more a public health message. So CAMH wants to do a stopping smoking campaign, and they want a video to be part of that. We say, great, we will do your video because we have the expertise, but we would like to keep the IP for that video, and it's going to go out wide. You can use it for whatever you want. We'd like to keep it to be part of our library to then be able to expand, and it's going to be more and more eyeballs for you. So that's how our partnerships are driving content. I mean, in a way, they're choosing content.
But how, once you put that out there, what guarantee that it will get the kind of attention that the original video got?
Absolutely no guarantee at all. I think, you know, you get lucky once, and then forensically, of course, you try and parse what went on.
Why do you think it did go viral?
But you realize, too, that these things are fickle, and so you try and you look at your strengths. Absolutely, a health message that's peer-to-peer is much more likely, I think, for people to watch and to absorb than something that comes from above, from an agency that's corporate. It's a different, and our style, I think, is a very intimate, it's a warm hand drawing. It's not very flashy. It's a visual lecture. And Dr. Mike's delivery is like the doctor sitting in the room with you. But I think the biggest thing is that it's peer-to-peer. Your friend sends you the link, you like it, you send it on. And that has been, I think, the best. And so for us, we can't compete with the Mayo Clinic, with big brands like that. And I don't think we should try to. I think we should stay in that place where people are going to send it on, while at the same time, you know, building something of a brand, and then getting it out to organizations that have their own dissemination networks, health organizations, big corporations that have an interest in employee health, big insurance companies. I think that's the service that we're going to end up by going to with this library.
And the role of, say, a CAMH or something, they're simply a sponsor. It's not their message.
They're a partner in the content in the beginning, absolutely, and it gets sent to various experts. It's medical. It has to be vetted. It has to be controlled that way. Mike is the author. Dr. Mike is the author and the communicator, and he has a real skill at making complex issues and technical issues able to be understood, and I think the visual lecture lends itself to that as well.
So Ian, maybe you can come in here with some of your experiences with Red Bull, because I'm wondering, there's that peer-to-peer element in that sense when something goes viral, that it's trusted in some ways because it isn't coming from anywhere, that we're sharing it with each other, and it's not some authority above us. And I wonder if we try that with something then where the person behind the message is actually a commercial entity as opposed to a public health organization, whether that becomes a little more difficult.
You know, I think one of the reasons Red Bull have been so successful is because they're very conscious of exactly that. So just on the sporting side of things, there's, you know, Red Bull crashed ice that maybe because there was no hockey going on got a little more attention this year. I believe it was TSN, you know, who was involved, or Sportsnet, sorry, I can't remember. But there was a major network that was broadcasting. It was a sporting event that they were broadcasting. This event, this actual sport of skating downhill on skates and smashing into each other was created by Red Bull. Like it was, you know, some crazy thing that was happening in Europe. They're like, let's own this thing, let's brand this thing. It's, you know, and if the broadcaster says, look, there's an audience that wants to watch this. This is good, entertaining content for people who are, you know, tuning into wrestling or hockey or whatever the case may be. Why wouldn't they watch this? The fact that this brand is associated with it isn't going to deter that viewership from enjoying it. So the same with the music content that I work on. The first time I worked in a very integrated way with Red Bull was on an event that took place here in Toronto. Can't even remember how many years ago it was, called Red Bull Music Academy, which is an environment where people from all over the world who want to be producers and DJs get to learn from experts. And Red Bull spends the money to bring big names together in the music world into different cities in the are you familiar with it? With
Oh
the Music
yeah,
Academy?
for sure.
Yeah, like it's a well-known music development property that they've built. It's the guys who do it are out of Germany, and it travels to a different city every year, and it's fascinating. Like it's great. It's a great event. There's good quality stuff there, and they want to get, their value in it is having Red Bull associated with things which are good for the community and for the music community. So they're interested in partnering with, people like Exclaim.
When we were talking earlier
that.
about joking that Red Bull was becoming a media company, we're not entirely joking. And it sounds
Oh,
like
I'm not
Cyan.
joking, no.
Roger, can you explain to me about, I thought Cyan was a car, but no, it's something else.
Well, it's these guys, I guess a line between what is a customer and what is a partner is also an interesting one to think about. But I think of Cyan and Red Bull and all these guys as customers. Sometimes I think of Red Bull as a competitor, which is kind of annoying. But by and large, we have to partner more with our customers than we ever have before. We're not just selling them a menu list of things. We have to create content with them. We have to have creative brainstorms with them. We have to decide together how that content will be disseminated. In the case of Cyan sessions that we did with Toyota, that content, again, lived on our sites and our magazine, but also...
What kind of content was it?
These are like, we got bands to play, and we covered stuff around across Canada, and we got them to play in weird little places. I think they played in some cars, and it was good stuff. And it did really well, and it was featured by the front page of YouTube and other things. And that frankly, we're going to get way more views by getting it featured on the front page of YouTube than we ever would have got by putting it on Toyota's site or our site and trying to drive people to there, which is where the partnership
the link with the car is fairly vague then. I mean, it's not really...
It's not in your face. It's content.
No,
it's content that we're happy to put on our TV channel.
Yeah.
Happy to. And it don't feel like some selling out at all. We had the editorial kind of say in it. That's why they want to work with us, because we're a respected music media outlet. We had a funny situation with Bacardi, one of those first campaigns that we did like this, where we produced this thing called the Bacardi Together Tour, where we traveled around the world at music festivals and produced all this content. And we delivered the first version to them, which was called the Bacardi Together Tour. And they sent it back saying, no, there's not enough Ox branding on that. That's one of our music channels. And we're like, what? It's like, no, the reason we want to work with you is because Ox is, people don't want Bacardi content, they want Ox content. They're brought to you by Bacardi. So it's there's really something there. But partnering them, I think the traditional way of thinking is give us your money and we'll give you some spots and dots on our websites or networks. Then it evolved a little bit, but okay, sure, we can do some creative production for you and that we own it and we'll put it on our site. And we're a few steps beyond that now, I think, where it's like, no, we'll collaborate with you, create the content, it'll go on everybody's site. No, there's no proprietary walled garden, and we will together track how it does in the whole world of social media and out there and see how we do. And if it works, we'll do it again.